Saturday Media Pulse. I'm Rich Lieberman, and we're live here on YouTube. And God, it's freezing outside. This extreme weather. This is real weather, where we go from hundreds and 110, and even hotter than that in our inland valleys to the Bay Area and the area near the coast, and it's downright freezing. So, in any event, I'm still getting over this cold. I'm feeling a lot better. My voice sounds crappy still. By the way, happy Saturday. I hope you're having a good day thus far and your coffee. If you're watching live on YouTube, welcome. If you're watching at a later time and have heard about me and are still living, and now I'm actually quite confident that you'll enjoy this show, because this show, me, myself, and I don't want to call myself a podcast or this cast or that cast. I'm here and I brag to some degree, well, a hell of a lot more than that. That I have no notes. I am a vociferous reader. I study. I'm in communication in terms of the information that we gather every day, whether it's for our own mind or entertainment purposes or information purposes, all of the above. When I say I don't have any notes, what I'm saying is that I talk about the things that you talk about, maybe with your friends or your spouses, what have you, your rabbi, your priest, your lawyer, your plumber, your barber. It's live. It's one day, hopefully, will be interactive if I can find some investors. And I talk about the media, primarily radio, television, internet to some degree in the Bay Area, San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose, Santa Cruz. And what I talk about is the various stations, outlets, TV news. A lot of that, as most of you who have seen me, read me, know what I talk about, what I report, some of my opinions, some of my takes, if you will, that kind of a thing. But we're here and we do it live. And I keep saying we, it's me. I don't have a staff. And what I do is I read a lot. I'm always, always checking out stories and tips and trends and developments that have to do primarily with the Bay Area media. And that's a lot of television, 4 or 5 various stations that we have here: KGO TV, which is ABC7, the CBS station, KPIX, Channel 5, the independent KRON, KRON, and of course, KTVU, Channel 2, and of NBC Bay Area, which is the NBC O&O also. They're headquartered in San Jose, but they are the O&O, and obviously they're busy these days. The Olympics began on Friday night with the opening ceremonies, which I'm not interested in the Olympics. I watch, at various times. I made it a point to try to take a look at the opening ceremonies, which was a lot of fluff and people that, I call them the cell phone, smartphone people who want everybody in the world to know they're there, which, I've been to Paris one time years ago when I went to London, when I was doing a news event for USA Today as a freelancer. I got to go to London. And I also got to go to Paris and had a fabulous time. It's a great city, But I wouldn't be caught dead in Paris now. We already had this one incident. I guess it threw a lot of people off guard. Obviously, they were able to thwart it after a considerable amount of unease. And obviously, I'm talking about the metro train where they had arson, and it the security there in Paris for the Olympics is monumental. You got to walk 18 blocks to navigate one block. And those of you that know Paris, it's a very centralized kind of a city with the rivers and the whole thing with the left bank and the west bank and the way I mean, it's a fantastic, beautiful, historical city of all. And it's wonderful. I wouldn't be caught there because of what is taking place. And I have nothing against the Olympics per se, but NBC, which has spent billions of dollars to bring this all, to us, and I again no issues whatsoever. But in any event, um, NBC, big to do, all their O and O's or have sent crews to, by the way, to Paris to be there to do Olympics programming. So, and God knows we need more Olympics programming in the Bay Area because we don't get enough of it, right? On the various NBC platforms and streaming with the Peacock and all that stuff. So, anyway, enough about that. And I guess if you watch the opening ceremonies, the big story was Mother Nature, the rain. And it wasn't just raining, it was howling rain and all that. All right. So, what am I going to talk about today? As you gather and watch me and drink your coffee or tea and, what have you, is one of the things I get asked about a lot by various people. Why are you so harsh on KCBS? Why are you so harsh on KNBR? And a lot of these people that ask me that they have no agenda one way. They're not angry at me or even irritated. They're just curious. And I have no problem answering that question, just like I have no problem answering most questions. If you want to ask me any kind of a question, I'm going to bring back Ask Rich Lieberman, which in a written form and maybe this kind of a form. But before I get to that, let's go back to the central question about Bay Area radio. I've often said here, and it's true, there is no radio. There's no radio. We have a what I call a bullshit radio station that is allegedly the all news station, but they truly are not. I'll give you a couple of reasons just within the past 24 hours why that's the case and how embarrassing it is for KCBS these days. I mean, truly laughable, crazy shit that goes on a daily basis, but the one that took place on Friday is part of the follies that we have every day. And KNBR, which is the all sports station, they do sports talk radio, but they're no real station. Frauds, really, purporting to give you quote entertainment. Excuse me, and sports talk, but they truly do not. Sometimes, by the way, just forgive me. I come on and I'm coughing and I'm itching and I don't know. I think it's a conspiracy. I do, and I think it's a conspiracy against me. And who did this conspiracy? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Seriously? No, I'm just kidding. What a complete. I mean, this guy is so nutty. The entire Kennedy family wants to disown him, and he's a nut. He's going to endorse supposedly Donald Trump. Jeez, want to talk about symmetry there? And I'm laughing because have you heard about this guy? And folks, I'm not pro Trump or anti-Trump or pro-Democrat or Republican, and I hate people who come onto my site and start this thread about politics and the Dems are bad and the Republicans are great. In any event, this guy is a nut. He is a complete nut. He's so nutty and goofy and bizarre that, and the only reason why he gets any kind of notice whatsoever is because he's a Kennedy, for God's sakes. But the Kennedy family wants nothing to do with this nut, this goofball. Other than that, I have no opinion of it. And his wife is. The wife is, and she's a nut too, although she basically condemned him about a year ago when he said some nutty thing. Cheryl Hines, she's the actress who plays or played now opposite Larry David in Curb Your Enthusiasm. You know, the big, yeah, the good Zubas. And you know, a nice lady and contract. Why did she go to this guy? Because he's a Kennedy. My God, but he's a nut. All right, let's not bury the lead. Go back to radio. So oftentimes I'm asked about these, and I pick on them because they're the shits. They're the shits. You listen to them, or have some of you. I talk to a few people every now and then who we talk about the old KGO. And I remember the old KGO in its vintage days. You know, it wasn't that long ago. And even in its latest iteration, it wasn't that bad. But you had these frauds on, like Mark Thompson. I guess he's got a show on YouTube. He's a fraud with his stupid voice, and he just talks like this with the headphones. And he seems like he can talk because he's got this stupid. Anyway, Mark Thompson. Yeah. And the other fraud, what's her name? I'll get, chastised because, oh, she's a woman, you're picking on her. Nikki Medora. Yeah. A current part-time fill-in at KCBS because she has nothing better to do in her life. A real yenta. A real yenta. It's a Jewish slang, folks. If you know what a yenta is, just look it up. Yenta. She's a yenta, and they have nothing to say. They have nothing whatsoever to say. I'm saying these two that I just mentioned. Thompson is a blowhard. He got some schmuck to help him out money-wise so he could do this show, and he puts on the headphones, and he has on John Waltman and all that. But he's a nothing. And I have triple his audience, and I have about 12 cents invested, not my call, on my background. But I'm here, and I'm live, and I give you more reality and passion than Mark Leibowitz. Oh, his real name is Mark Leibowitz. He's afraid, and I guess he's doesn't want to give his real Jewish name, so he goes by the name of Mark Thompson. Any event. So KGO used to be one of the greatest radio stations. And what kills me about the fact that people say, oh, move on, KGO was nothing, blah, 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 blah. Well, look at some of the stations that are trying to stay the course, maintain, because they have some semblance of personality and creativity to try to maybe not necessarily just get ratings, but to be profitable, which you can do. If you have quality on anything, quality, or at least try to be interesting, as I've often said, people will come, people will listen or watch or whatever. Word of mouth. That's the most powerful deal in all of everything. That's how people like, for example, Dr. Ruth, who they thought, who's this woman? An old lady with a major accent who says the word blowjob, which, by the way, you could say blowjob on radio or here. It's not illegal. It's not a taboo word. Well, maybe taboo, but it's legal. You can say certain things. You can't say certain things. You could say blowjob. You can say erection, obviously. Dr. Ruth, you know what? You know what dictated her success at the very, 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 very forefront of her success? 3 words: word of mouth. Word of mouth. This little old Jewish lady with the thick accent who said blowjobs and talked about erections and sex, and I'm going to talk about orgasm. You know what started Dr. Ruth? Word of mouth. She was sincere. She was, of course, funny. People thought it was shtick. Turns out it wasn't. It was all from the heart. She was a sex therapist, basically, a psychologist. Started in New York. And she didn't do a show. She was on these public affair programs. But you know what really was so popular about her? And she made it an industry, her own industry. Word of mouth. Nobody would have put her on. Nobody with consultants in their background or radio or all the shit that she did. She got word of mouth. She was funny. She had this style. People laughed. She had all walks of life and all people and all demographics, from very young to older to people in the middle of all walks of life, race, age. She had a following, a complete following, and it was nothing based on, again, data. Fuck that. She got word of mouth. She started getting a following, and she had hundreds and thousands, and then letters and emails and all this feedback. She was real. And of course, I'm sure she must have pissed off some people, but people listened. She was funny. And she wasn't even trying to be funny, which is when you're really, really funny, is when you're not trying to be funny. People thought she was, gimmicky. This has got to be shtick. It wasn't shtick. My point in talking about all this was she defied all odds against analytics and all this shit. Why? Because she was sincere, down to earth, something foreign on most outlets, but namely radio. That's why Jim Gabbard, I've spoken to Jim Gabbard, who has the financial wherewithal to bring back radio, a news talk radio station in the Bay Area, where he still has residents. Forget about ratings. You have to have talent. You have to have ingenuity. You have to start somewhere. Just a side motion. I don't know how I brought in Dr. Ruth. My point of bringing in, I realize now, is that Dr. Ruth was a creative lady who developed such a following. Didn't spend, or was not dictated in her drive by consultants. She was just good, and people thought she was funny and listened, because that's what she did. And she ended up being on a lot of big time radio stations. She became syndicated. Bay Area radio needs another outlet where you can hire decent people. There are a lot of people out there, lots of people out there. KGO, I'm not even talking the old KGO. That ship has sailed. As I've often said, it's not going to happen anymore. We don't have the creative genius. These Silicon Valley types, some of whom still listen to radio, but mostly they do it on their phones or their streaming devices, whatever, but have the wherewithal to bring back a KGOS kind of a radio station where you can have interesting people, where you can have ideas and a cross area of politics and entertainment. God, I got an itch. I don't know what it is. Where you have just interesting people. And you could talk anything. You could talk politics and entertainment and events of the day and culture and music. And you get people on. And you don't do bits. You don't look at clocks, because if we're on a device, we're not hampered by having to kiss ass to the time. And you have real people. Bay Area radio, and this is sad. This is so sad. In an area of this size, with Silicon Valley in our geographical equation, where you have more billionaires per capita than any other place on the planet, you have a forum. I don't care if it's computer generated, which ultimately I guess it has to be, because that's the world we live in. That's fine. But you have sincerity. and put it on AM terrestrial radio or FM, you know, and get people out there. And I'm sick of politics. I listen to it, I talk about it, but it's become so saddled with bipartisan, and people are so, this guy Mark Levin, who I listen to every now and then, and everybody he disagrees with, they're Marxists. The Democrats are bad, the Republicans are good. And even on my site, I could talk about something quasi political. And I have these morons, these people, and I hate to call them that word, the pejorative, like morons, but they talk about politics. And folks, I don't want politics on my site. I don't want political diatribes. That's what I think now. You don't have to be a genius to say this. People are fed up with the true blue political crap, whether you're Democrat or Republican or independent. They want creative thought. God, I'm going off in branches today. I really am. Shame on me. Um, what I've tried to emulate here is by saying about the bullshit fact that we don't have really any kind of. I'm trying to make my light better, and you know what? I can't. So I'm just gonna do this, and I can talk about this because that's my brand, Rich Lieberman. um, what was I talking about? Oh yeah. So the bullshit that we have, that's KCBS. And look, I don't go out of my way to rip KCBS just to rip KCBS, but they're just so phony. And they've got these dime store reporters. They have a few good people, but most of their people are all crap. And some of them happen to be women. So I guess I'm a misogynist again because I'm picking on a woman. When they're the shits, if they're a woman, if they're black, if they're a guy or white or black or yellow or Asian or Jew or Catholic, if they're the shits, then I'm going to call them out. They're the shits. Who cares who they are, what sexual gender they have, or this, that, or the other? Same thing with KNBR and KQED radio. There's nothing there. It's an empty caveat. Everything is hollow. And we have shit. Look, I'm not saying I am masterpiece theater because I'm not, but I give you more thought and thought provoking content in my little thumb or pinky finger than they do all day. You know what and this is primarily KNBR now, so they have hosts, they don't have any semblance of the region. They hire these numbskills and former program directors who are boring and smart asses. Why? Who cares? And they run the world, or they think they're important and they're worth listening to, and they're not. And everything is saturated with commercials ad nauseum. Look, I worked in radio years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and it was such a better deal. Right. And that's kind of a cliche to even go there. But current Bay Area radio is such bullshit, is so lousy and decrepit. And again, people ask me, why do you even talk about it? What else is there to talk about? I find it still, even terrestrial wise, that these bullshit stations, and they're not even live. And some of them that are live, they repeat ad nauseum the same crapola. My God, what's happened? And the television gets worse. And look, I am here pretty much every day. And I am going to be here every day as long as you allow me to be here every day based on your donations or contributions. Look, I'm not doing a pledge break, but in order for me to keep doing this, and some of you have written me great letters and have contributed emails, and you get what I'm trying to do. And, I don't want to jinx this, but I've been trying to broker people, media people, radio people, broadcast people who have a vast amount of financial wherewithal to see if we could get a KGO like station back on the terrestrial airwaves, be it FM or AM. I've been working, and it's just a lot of people have the money and they don't even want to try. They don't want to even try, because that's how they probably got very rich and successful, is because they don't throw away, 5 or 10 or $15 million. And nobody wants to try anything. Nobody is eager, and even those who can piss off that kind of money. So, look, if you're out there and you have that amount, the hell with the radio. Just give it to me. No, just kidding. God forbid. So, folks, I'm here every day, and I live and die professionally by your contributions. If you can make a donation, I will personally call you, sing to you, kvetch to you, person, via email or a phone call. I think there's a conspiracy again. Robert Kennedy makes this itching thing on my head and my face. Okay. I need coffee and tea and lots of water right now. Okay. It is Saturday. We're almost at the end of July 2024. Why I sound like this, I have no idea. I'm beginning to get kind of like a Andy around. Do you ever wonder why? Yeah. Oh boy. So I'm here. I talk about the media and comment, and I value your feedback. You can email me, rich.lieberman@gmail.com. Make a donation. We'll see you later. Thanks for watching.